Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Jester with Jester Coding. Today we're going to build our first HTML page. For these tutorials I'm going to be using the brackets editor that has a lot of cool features. I'm not going to go over those right now. I will create a video later that goes over why that's so important. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we need to do is come out to our desktop. We're going to create a folder. And this folder is going to be the name of your website. So I'm actually going to name mine test.com. Okay, so let's go back to our brackets editor. And now we need to open up this folder that we just created. Okay, now we have that file open. So what we need to do now is create our first page. So we'll go ahead and go to File and create a new file. And then we need to save this file in that folder that we just created. So we'll do a save as, and you should name this file index.html. When a server looks at your files, it's going to look for the index.html first, and that's going to be the file that it executes. Okay, so to get started here, we are going to do what is called a doctype declaration. So what this doctype declaration is saying to the browser is it's saying, hey, I am an HTML5 document. Now an HTML page has its root element, which is the HTML element. So while I'm doing this, as we go along, you're going to notice I'm going to use some different words. So this entire thing here is called an element. We have an opening tag here and a closing tag here. Now we need to understand that so that you don't get confused during these tutorials. So the HTML element has two children. These two elements are the head, which holds information for the browser to set up the page, and we have body, which holds all of the content for the page. So as we come up here to head, there's two different elements that are required for the head. These two elements are a meta tag. Now the meta tag tells the browser what character set we are going to use for this document. So we're going to give it an attribute of char set, and the value for that is going to be UTF-8. And there's something I forgot. In the HTML, we need to give it an attribute as well of lang, which of course stands for language. And we're going to use EN for English. Now I live in the United States, so I'm going to make that a little bit more specific and say that we're using US English. Okay, so now like I was saying, our second element that's going to be in the head is going to be our title. Now the title is what shows up in the little tab up at the top of the browser. So I'm going to simply call this the name of my site. It's going to be test.com. Okay, now as we come down, let's talk about the body. The body is where we contain all of the information for the page. Now the page is going to be separated into different parts, and in HTML, we use what are called semantic elements that build the structure of the page. Now to start off, we're going to give it a header. Now what the header does is it gives us our brand, or it lets the user know what page they're visiting. So we're going to call that header. And a lot of times within the header, people will put a navigation in. So we're going to give ourselves a navigation here. The next semantic element that we need to be worried about is main. Now main holds all of the main content for the page. This is the content that visitors are coming to your page to see. And after main, we are going to put in a footer. And the footer is used specifically for information that's not necessary for the page, but it gives you kind of quick links to visit other parts of the page that might be useful. Thinking about Walmart.com, you could look at career options. You could contact them. There's an about page. They have their copyright logo and the name of their website. So all of that stuff is going to go there. Now in our main, we are going to put a heading in here. And this is just going to be the main part of our page. This is what's going to be displayed once we're finished with this initial setup. So we're going to use a heading. Now there's a heading 1 through a heading 6. And what this tells us is how important is this heading. Now since this is the main heading to our page, this is of course going to be the most important title. So within this, I'm simply going to say hello world. And that is what you need to create your first HTML page. Now we can go over here to this little lightning bolt symbol over here on the right. We can click that, and that turns on our live preview. So like I was saying, brackets gives us a built-in server. So we're going to have Google Chrome open up and show us what's built in our HTML document. So you can see hello world, which is our heading 1, showed up. We can right click here and say view page source, and you can see all of the code that you've written. But anyway, thank you for watching this first tutorial. I hope it was helpful, and we will see you in our next one. Bye-bye.